Health. Today's topic is going to be about insulin and how we start insulin. I have a physician assistant student with me, Mike, who's going to explain a little bit more about what kinds of insulin we use and how to use them.
All right, so insulin is categorized by their onsets. So we have a few different types: rapid acting, short acting, intermediate, and long acting. There are also the mixed insulins, which have a mixture of short and intermediates or longs. So the short actings are usually used around mealtime. These are like Lispro, which is Humulog, or Novolog. These have a quick onset, and these are used, like I said, just around mealtime to really keep the blood sugar from being spiked too fast. The intermediate and longs, these are like Humulin N, Novolin L, or Levemir or Lantus. These are what we call basal insulins. They're used usually in the morning or at night, and they can last anywhere from 16 to 20 hours.
For the long-acting insulin at night, where would you like to start the amount of units that you'd like to start with? So I know you mentioned last time 10 units, then
Yes.
You want to kind of bring it up one or
Yes.
two units as needed, or?
Yeah. So you would usually start, just keep it simple. You start with the 10 units of basal insulin. So this is usually 0.1 to 0.2 units per kilogram in the evening, and increase until the fasting glucose is around anywhere from 70 to 130, whatever you and your doctor agree on.
Here's an opportunity for us to just take a break and discuss the different types of insulin. Mike just explained to us that there is a short-acting and a long-acting insulin. For the longest time, to mimic the natural production of insulin in the body, we've been recommending to use long-acting insulin at night and then short-acting mealtime insulin during the day. Mike is about to discuss with us how do we use the mealtime insulin, how to check your blood sugar, and how many units do we recommend. And it all depends on the patient, the amount of food they're eating, and the amount of insulin production they've already been making.
Yeah, so what you were just explaining there was a sliding scale. So for people who are just starting on insulins, there are three major approaches that we use. There's a conventional way, and this is where you start with a standard dose independent of your meal glucose or carb intake. These are like the basal or intermediate insulins. The sliding scale that you were just explaining, this is based on a pre-meal glucose and the patient's sensitivity to insulin. So, for example, if your goal is 100 glucose and the insulin you selected offsets the blood glucose by about 10 points per unit, you would assess the blood glucose before and administer the amount of units that you would need to offset your blood sugar to keep it down to around goal. Lastly, there's the intensive method, and this is where you are basically counting each one of your calories. And it's a little more sensitive, and you really have to keep an eye on your insulin and how you're using it.
That's really very helpful. Thank you, Mike.
All right, thanks for having me.